Hi friends, Dean here with Escape to Gaming. I got little Vinny with me this morning. He's hanging out in the game room. He likes his morning sunshine. But I wanted to do a video response to Dave Wade at Lawn Boys Post 1975. He had something recently happen where someone left a comment in one of his videos and heckled him about, why don't you have a PC, you know, wasting your time playing these console games, you could be playing it on a much better platform and all this. And you can see it kind of got to him, so he posted something on Facebook about it. I added my 2 cents, and then I certainly wasn't surprised yesterday to see him upload a new video about why he prefers consoles to PC gaming. Now what's ironic is that I share an identical sentiment with Dave over this. So, and I ironically watched this right before the new Sony press conference on the new PlayStation PS4 Pro. So I saw it on TV while I was waiting for this Sony thing to come on. But then ironically, I couldn't comment on it. So this morning, oh that's right, I was going to comment on Dave's thing. So I said, well, you know what, Dave, I'll do better than the comment. I'll do a VR, because this is something I've had, even on my last video, on my Neo impressions or this PS4 Pro impressions, I had someone that went, oh, Dean, for, $1,000 you can build a great PC. Look, I know the guy means well. I'm so thankful that anyone who watches my videos and sits through them, number one, and the fact that they go so far as to leave a comment shows that they care. So I took it in that he meant well, and that's what I told him. I said, thanks, I appreciate the input and all this, but I prefer the simplicity of the plug-in and play console mindset. So I'm going to attempt, for the record, one last time, I've mentioned this in a few other rants, but I'm going to go through my history of PCs and what I think of them. Now, back in the 80s, when I got the Commodore 64 in 87, I had a friend shortly after that. He had, I think it was F-16 Falcon, was a PC game, and he built his own PC. He went to college to become an electrical engineer or do something with computers. So he was already way ahead of the curve. He got in very early, and then later he was working on the forward-looking infrared systems on the real F-16s, for the military. So now he's a technical guy and works in the high-tech Maverick missile guidance systems and all that stuff. So he's a genius. So early on, and he was a good car guy. He was the guy that raised me and taught me how to rip a motor apart and put it back together. He's very mechanically inclined. So I was envious. When he lived in Fresno, I lived in LA, and I'd drive up with my C64, and I'd bring it with me, and we'd take turns playing my favorite little C64 military games. But my God, I'd look at his F-16 Falcon game, and I just thought the graphics were like, oh my God, this is like real, Which it's so rudimentary. It's almost like vector graphics looking back on it today. It's like so simplistic. But at the time, it like blew me away, and I just said, my God, for those that have the money, you got it made. You could build your own PC, and you can play these video games that no one else can play. These are real video games. And so I saw early on in '87 the power of PCs. Now, ironically, by 1988, I had a pretty successful sign business in Redondo Beach, California, where I made signs and did window displays, and I'd install neon, and I would design someone's logo and then do their signage and then paint the inside of their place and do neon, the whole deal. And it was this place called Corporate Computer Center in West Los Angeles in Wilshire Boulevard, and they wanted a new logo. I met with them, and they paid me thousands of dollars. I got like $6 or $7 grand to design a logo, do all the vinyl graphics on their windows, make one nice interior sign inside the store, and then do some neon around the inside of the store. I did some fake marble painting up near the ceiling, and with this nice bright red neon. It had a real high-tech look. It was very kind of the popular in thing in the late 80s. It looked really Miami Vice style, stylish-wise and everything. But what's interesting is that the guy sold personal computers. This is 1987, 88, like early 88 maybe. And I said, well, how much for an entry-level computer? How much just for the PC, for a monitor, a keyboard, for a powerful enough computer where I can play all these video games I want? He knew exactly what I wanted. He says it would have been about $5,500. $5,500. It'd be like paying almost $15,000 to $20,000 for a computer today. So I'm like, I don't know. And I really wanted that F-16 Falcon, but you got to understand, at that time, that was an awful lot of money back then in 1988, 88. And my ex-wife was not hip to me. That's too much money. I mean, I can't. We really need the money right now. At the time, I needed a new car. So I ended up, at the last minute, I said, you know what, just give me the cash deal. He paid me the $7,000 or whatever, and I put it down on a brand new, or slightly used, 86 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z. I think it was a far better use of the money than a PC that I would have used for playing a couple of video games. So from that point on, in my mind, PCs were like $1 million. It was like buying a Ferrari or Rolls Royces. And it's like, that's for the wealthy or techie type people, can buy the components and build it themselves. It's like, it was this nebulous, far off, unattainable thing. So don't even think about it. And I didn't. So throughout the 90s, I jumped on board with the Super NES. And by 95, the PlayStation 1. And I never looked back. I've been very happy with consoles. I love the PlayStation 2 in particular, and especially the Xbox, as many of you know, as I'm a 6th gen fanatic. I just think the games are so great. They all work. There's no problems. There's no fiddling with settings and worrying about graphics cards. You just plug the thing in and play it. For someone like me, that's great. Now, I mentioned earlier, my friend had showed me how to go through motors and rebuild engines and, install camshafts and install headers, and I did many transmissions, ripped them out and went through them and put in, better clutch packs and torque converters so that they'd wind up faster and all this stuff. So I spent my youth where a lot of kids like me that we didn't, these kids today don't even know which end of a screwdriver to hold, but they can build a PC all day long and go and rip apart, a brand new iPhone and hack it and do all this stuff. I mean, to me, it's like it's a joke. I mean, if they're comfortable doing that, they're into all this techie. But what's ironic is they all drive little boring Japanese cars, but they're happy with those cars. That's their generation. They grew up with more technical computer gadgets and things. But my generation grew up where, you weren't a man unless you could rip a car apart. Go in and take a Ford 302 apart, take it all apart, rebuild it, put a 4-barrel intake carb, put a camshaft in it, headers, and squeeze another 100 and so horsepower out of it, then actually see it run, break the cam in, have it running, and get out and lay rubber the length of your street. To me, it's like you could hold your chest up high, beat your chest like a gorilla, and say, I did something, and you felt great, and it was fun. I understand, and I know that on a different scale, there's a sense of exhilaration that people that build their own killer PCs with the water cooling and overclocking and all this stuff. To me, putting water through an electrical system is insane, but they do it. I don't understand it all, and I don't care to. But it was about the early the PS2 era that my wife in the early 2000s, she was talking about getting a PC, and I go, oh God, they're $1 million. She goes, no, they're quite affordable. You can get them for about $600 or $700 now. I go, really, that cheap? So. This was back like a Dell you could get back in like 2003 or so, 2002-03. They were somewhat affordable, and she wanted to get one. She's an accountant. She wanted to do her Excel spreadsheets and do all this stuff and do her bills, and then she even made a spreadsheet for our daughter for all of her chores and things and homework and like a timetable to do. So she wanted a PC, and I go, well, if they're that cheap, let's go ahead and get one. So she had it, and then what was neat is that back then I could have her, look on eBay for things, and she would sell my artwork on eBay. And I thought it was great. Oh, this is kind of neat. A computer, look, this is how it connects the world. And I remember downloading that first Vice City, Grand Theft Auto Vice City trailer. It took like 7 hours to download a 1.5-minute little trailer. And it was all chopped up and broke up. But I thought the tech was so amazing at the time. So from a distance, I kind of looked over her shoulder, and I could appreciate the PC for us, and she had fun with it. That was her thing. She'd go on there, and she'd interact with people and buy and sell things on eBay and research things and what have you in the early days of the internet and chat rooms and all that. That's great. And after a while, I looked at it one day, and I go, I could probably play video games on this thing, huh? And I asked her, and she goes, oh yeah, you could probably, there's some video games. You can go to Best Buy and we can get you a couple games if you want to try it out on it. I didn't know. Well, so I went and looked at some games, and I bought these little, I can't remember what they're called. They were little military kind of top-down real-time strategy games with little tanks and jeeps, and you could like do strategic setups, and then hit a button and watch it all, go to town. I had a friend that came over and installed like Rome Total War, and he'd watch all these, platoons and troops, and then you hit a button and they all go at each other, millions of little, pieces and intricate little items, and people on horseback fighting it out. And I thought it was fascinating, as I love miniatures and I love to see that detail. I thought it was brilliant. So early on I got the bug. In the early 2003, 2 in there maybe, I'm thinking. And then I really started getting into it more by like 2004. So then finally I found a game that I really liked called Silent Hunter 3. And I mentioned this in a few other rants. It was like a World War II computer sim. I think you were Germans. I think you were like on a German sub. And to me it was like the Das Boot movie, which I love. I have a 4-hour version of it on Blu-ray, and it's a fantastic film. And I love submarines. It reminds me, oh my God, this is like Silent, what was it called? Silent Service on the C-64. A submarine game, but my God, look at the graphics and the sound. And you go down at periscope depth and you can see the waves splashing up onto the lens of the periscope and the ships in the distance and the depth of field. And I go, oh my God. And then you could watch as your torpedoes launched. You had views, you could follow the torpedo to the ship, and it was so exhilarating, so exciting. I thought it was like magic. And so I was hooked. I said, man, that's it. This PC gaming is it. And I stopped playing my PlayStation 2 in favor of playing Silent Hunter 3. And I played this game for like 6 months straight. That's all I played. I didn't even play those other little top-down military strategies. I started to play those, and I'm like, screw those. Silent Hunter 3 is where it's at. Well, one day I'm playing it, and all of a sudden, there was like the game froze, and there was like a loud, audible sound, like when the sub would crash and like go down in a crash dive, there'd be this really loud siren or alarm sound that would go off. Well, that sound was on and like frozen, and it was super loud. I shut the computer off. I couldn't shut the game off. It wouldn't respond, and it crashed my computer and killed a brand new computer. Now, what's ironic is that we had a computer for like 2 years, and then we get rid of it. We got early 2000s, and we get a better one, this Dell in 04. We hadn't had this thing more than a few months, like 4 or 5 months, and this brand new $650 computer crashes. So now I had to go out and buy another one. And my wife says, that's it, no more computer games. They're ruining the computer. They aren't designed for that. And I tended to agree. It's sad because it's like, my God, I mean, I can never return to this game again. Why the hell won't they make this on a damn console? I'd love to play a game like this on a console. So I, sheepishly went back to my PlayStation 2, and that was the end of it. I never looked back. So you have to understand that in my mind, number one, they were ridiculously expensive. Even back in the early 2000s, $650, $700 for like an entry-level Dell was a lot of money back then. It'd be like paying a couple times that today, like $1,500. I mean, today you can I bought my Asus AMD 10 for like $530 or something, really cheap. Found it at bestbuy.com, had it with Windows 7 already installed in it, which I wanted. They were pushing Windows 8 and I didn't want it. I wanted Windows 7. And I thought, well, I'm getting an AMD 10. This is the most powerful computer. God, I could do PC gaming. This thing chugs. It can barely render my videos. In fact, I was trying to stream my LA Jazz station yesterday while I'm rendering my PlayStation 4 Pro deal. It can't even do it. The stream was getting all chopped up. The computer sounds like a F-15, jet taking off. It's like, making all this noise, killing itself trying to chug to render this little video, this little 18-minute video. And I had to shut the streaming off my music. I mean, that computer's too weak. It just can't do it. And that's an AMD 10. Asus computer. I thought I was getting this Wazoo computer, and it ain't shit. You got to spend the big... Everyone's, you got to increase the RAM. You got to add this and do that, and graphics cards. And I don't want to screw with all that any more than kids today are want to rip their hoods off their Hondas or little Nissans and go through them and hot rod them and soup them up and put in nitrous kits and turbochargers and intercoolers and all that. Or in muscle cars or what have you. I mean, it's not everyone's thing. So I think part of it is a generational thing, but for me, computers are expensive. I burned my hand on the stove so bad with that. And this, again, I mentioned this analogy before. In 2008, I bought a brand new 6.7 twin-turbo diesel F-250 Ford truck. This thing had 24 miles in the odometer, and the check engine light came on. The whole fuel system shut down. I took it in. They spent a week on it, rebuilt it. Okay, it's all set. And it had the check engine light came on again. I shoved it up their ass. I don't want this fucking thing. Oh, no, you're under contract. I said, bullshit, I don't want it. I got my money back. I went out and bought my 2008 Dodge Ram with a Hemi in it. Never had a problem in 8 years, and I drive the piss out of it. So, to me, I'll burn my hand one time in the stove, and that's it. No more Fords for me. And I've had multiple Fords that have given me problems. I was a diehard Ford guy, and after that last F-250, I said, that's it. I'm done with Fords. I've just had too many problems. My nephew keeps buying them. Every single one he's bought in the last 8 years has had nothing but problems. Every time he's in town visiting, I have to take him to the Ford dealership and drop it off. So, to me, I'm just not interested. I'm going to stick with what I know works for me. Now, that's me. Someone else's mileage may vary, or someone else's experience obviously be different. Other people may play Silent Hunter 3 for years, and then another 20 games on top of it, never have an issue. Depends on the person, depends on luck, probably lots of factors. I don't know. Even the DVD player in that computer couldn't even run the opening cinematic. It was all choppy. I kept taking the disc back like 3 times, saying that it's all chopped up, and they kept swapping it out for a new software. I kept reinstalling it and then updating the drivers, and it could never even play the opening intro in Silent Hunter 3 properly. So, to me, computers are a headache. I just don't see, and everyone's, oh, Dean, again, in the comments just on my last video, oh, for, $1,000, you can get something that outperforms, 2 to 1, this new PlayStation 4 Pro, and you can run, games at 60 to 90 frames a second. I don't care about that. I played The Last of Us at 30 frames a second. Now, I have the definitive edition. I bought at 60 frames a second, and although visually it looks great on my TV, I didn't really even notice the difference between the frame rates. And believe me, on some of the FPS shooters, I can tell. I can tell difference between 30 frames a second, 60. I mean, Forza Horizon, my favorite racing game of all time, is locked at 30 frames a second. And to me, it looks perfect. It doesn't need to be any faster than that. It depicts the speed, the fluidity just fine. The graphics and the scenery looks awesome. 30 is fine for me. I don't care. And a lot of the games I do have, like the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, they claim that they run at 60 frames a second. And who knows? Maybe it's really at 40, but bottom line is it's a steady, 30 frames per second or greater. That's all I care about. So for me, the PlayStation, the PS4 Pro, with twice the processing power and speed and everything, should more than run my PlayStation 4 games fine. For me, that's PC-like graphics. I don't care if it's native or upscale. The fact that I can visually look at something on my 4K TV, it looks substantially better, irregardless of whatever magic is going on. I don't care. It looks great. I got the HDR color palette. That's all I care about. If the frame rate's better, that's a bonus. That's fine. So to me, it's the simplicity. It's the economics. I mean, yeah, I could afford, instead of going out and buying expensive things for my house, I could easily rationalize buying a nice gaming PC. But my friend Cameron of Industrial Gamer, kid's a whiz. I mean, he builds his own PCs and overclocks them. There's all these killer PCs where he can run his games 90 frames a second. He just built the PC several months ago and did a whole demonstration. And right after he built it, within a day, the whole thing crashed. It fried. Everything didn't work out, and he had to completely start over and rebuild it. And that's an expert doing it. So that right there just tells me that, if he can't even make it work out of the box, and I'm not going to try something like that. That's just me. So to me, I'm the type where, I would just buy an Alienware deal. Here's $3,800 or whatever it is, and be done with it, because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm not going to go out and take my truck and rip the hood off and install a $4,000 blower and then another, $2,000 intercooler and all this stuff to try to get my truck to go another 150 horsepower faster, when I could just go out and just buy a Corvette, and right out of the box I got something that's going to haul ass from 0 to 60 and go up to 200 miles an hour in a few seconds. That's the kind of person I am. I'd rather just buy something right out of the box that works. So, and again, I can't afford those Alienware prices. I've had people, oh, Dean, forget that Alienware, they're screwing you. You can build a PC so cheap. And well, it's cheap to you. And that's because you know how to do it and have the parts. And my friend Cameron's even offered for free, Dean, I'll build you a PC. I appreciate the offer, but even still, I have to spend the money for all the parts. And to me, I just weigh it out. It's not worth it. My Xbox 360 plays many of those PC games. Yeah, I could play Max Payne 3. on a PC, and I'm sure the graphics would look a little better. I'm sure that Mad Max would play a lot better on a PC, and I can appreciate that. I think that's great. I would almost get a gaming PC just to play Mad Max, to play it without any issues or glitches, and in a visual, with a higher frame rate and everything, it would be a treat. I have to admit, it's very tempting. But realistically, it's not going to happen. I can't even rationalize spending the money on this PS4 Pro right now, being slow on work and everything. I'm in the process right now of revamping my website and creating new ads to get my own contracting business up and running again, so I can hopefully get a couple of big jobs in before the end of the year, so I can salt my money away, kind of like a chipmunk, storing his nuts for the winter. I like to save, but have a nice cushion for those lean months coming up in January. So I don't even know if I can rationalize getting a new console just yet, but for me to spend a couple grand, which to me is what it's going to cost to build a really good PC, is just too much for me personally. I'm not interested. And I think the games, the Xbox 360 serves me fine. I think that the PlayStation 4 is perfect. The games work. You just plug them in and they work. Yeah, there's updates and things you got to deal with, but for me it's the simplicity of it. And I think that's where Dave, Wade, and I share on the same exact page. It's an economic thing. It's the simplicity of it. I'm more than happy. Just like a lot of you younger guys today that have the little Honda Civics or have the little Nissans or the Toyotas, whatever. You're happy with your transportation car. It's a nice little car, gets you from point A to point B. It has cup holders and a nice little stereo and everything in it. And you can play your Pandora and Spotify right through the thing. I mean, it has everything you need and you're happy with that. That's how I am with the consoles. I don't need to roll my sleeves up and hot rod the thing and modify it constantly and upgrade every year. I got to change out the graphics card. And well, what about this great, graphics card? Oh, that's shit now. You got to get this new one if you really want to run the games good. I'm not interested in that at all. To me, that's a huge turnoff. But I can see that those that like to tinker and create, I know that the excitement of building something yourself in the sense of pride, but this PC elitist thing with their chest puffed out and everything, it's a joke to me. It reminds me when I used to take my Corvette to the car shows and enter it with other Corvettes and stuff. And you'd have a guys with the Ferraris would come in and they'd park their cars and they'd look down at you, look at these Corvette peasants, and it always irritated me because they obviously could just immediately outspend you and outclass you by, well, I have a Ferrari. My brother-in-law bought a brand new Porsche Carrera C4, all-wheel drive, Porsche Carrera convertible roadster. Beautiful champagne color. He'd bring it over my driveway. He'd take the keys and he'd smash them down on my coffee table. Go, that's what I'm made of. And I'd take my wife's Chevy Cavalier keys, which is like the entry-level Chevrolet, and I'd slam them down on the coffee table. Well, that's what I'm made of, bud. But what's ironic is that a year or so later, he sheepishly called me. He goes, Dean, can I keep the Porsche in your garage for a while? They're looking for it, and they're probably going to repo it. And I need a place to keep. I said, I'd be happy to, my friend. Bring it right over. So for 6 weeks, I kept it hidden in my garage. So I got a little vindication there. But it's that snobbery and elitism that I read when I'm reading a lot of these posts with the PC guys coming at you. And it's this, bone of contention. They've got to one-upstage you. Oh, I'm the PC guy. We can play our games at 90 frames per second all day long. Well, good for you. That's great if that's what you're into. It depends on what you're into. I mean, I have a beautiful high-end coffee maker that grinds my own beans and it does a beautiful job being fresh coffee. But for some people, an old Mr. Coffee maker with a powdered coffee works just fine. It just depends on what your value is and what you see is worth it for you. It depends. There's certain things. I have to pick and choose in life. And that's why I drive an older truck. I mean, I could easily trade it in, get $20,000 for it, and buy a brand new one, get the latest thing with even more gadgets and gizmos and all this stuff. But it serves me fine, just like my consoles, so I'll stick with it. So, Dave, I hope this is a good VR to you. I share the same sentiments. My PlayStation 2 and original Xbox have done me just fine. My Xbox 360 has played all those multi-plat games just fine. I'm very happy with it. I love my PlayStation 4. Maybe someday if I can afford an Xbox One, maybe I'll get one of those as well. And play some of those great exclusives like the new Forza Horizon 3. it's all good. And it's all relative to each person's finances and their comfort level in, delving into something. Not everyone feels comfortable ripping apart a PC. I did take my Windows XP one apart and I installed more RAM in it once. I did a little YouTube walkthrough and lovingly made a little list of everything I needed and worked. And I pulled it off. I did it. I felt proud of myself for doing it. And that was like a big thing for me. But that's as far as I want to take it. And then that computer took a shit on me not long after. So the PCs, I look at replacing them like vacuum cleaners. Every couple years, just plan on it burning out and getting another one. And I'm just getting tired of it. So, and look at these great games. Like you look at this old Blade Runner game. It was like an adventure game. I think it was a point and click, I'm not sure, but it had great graphics, a wonderful story. There's no computer system that can even run that game now. Good luck trying to run Silent Hunter 3 in these newer systems. I don't know if it can be done. Maybe you could, I don't know. But there's lots of older computer games that I see my friends in the PC community that they have a difficult time even running them. And their people are really in the know and are tech savvy in that regard. So to me, it's just not worth it. I'm very happy with the simplicity of a plug-in and play console. These games work just fine for me. I love console gaming because it works. You just plug it in and it works. Even today's units with all the problems and the updates, for the most part, I've never had any problems with my PS4. Every game has run fine. I have had problems with Mad Max, but I think that's more of the game and the patch or lack of a patch or whatever than it is the console itself. So that's my rationale. That's my little journey through my PC gaming and what I thought of it initially. I was very impressed initially. I'm impressed for my friends. I think it's great if you can play with those high frame rates, and I can, as a visual person, I can see the graphics being dialed in. And then the other thing is that I can't sit at a desk. I'm sitting in this chair this long for this rant. I'm ready to climb the walls. I'm going to have to take a little walk around my house for 20 minutes just to relax my back. So for me to sit at a PC to even edit my videos and respond to my videos is very painful. So PC gaming is out for me. And I get friends, oh, Dean, yeah, but with a laptop now and you can get an Xbox One controller, you can sit and play them on your TV. Well, I'm sure I can. I know Alienware makes a new little console that's just designed for that. And it's tempting. I am tempted and I will consider it down the road. But right now, it's just not a realistic deal. When I have a PlayStation 4 for $400 that's been paid off for years now, it does me just fine. So that's my rationale. You can take it from what you want from a Fred Flintstone like myself. But let me know in the comments how you feel. I know I'm going to have good friends of mine, and they're really good friends that are PC gamers predominantly. I understand. Still tell me what you feel. If you think I'm off the beam, you think I'm crazy for thinking this way, can you understand? Can you understand my rationale for it? Either way, let me know in the comments why you like PC gaming or console gaming the best. Maybe similar humorous experiences you've had with them over the years with them breaking and problems. I'd be curious. So, thanks for watching, guys, and no matter what they are, enjoy your games.